I have a hard.
Okay, we're up to the Mishnah on Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Beis as we near the end of Masechta Baba Metzia. Very interesting daf tonight. V'chein Beis Habad Shehu Bonui B'Sela. You have a Beis Habad. You have an olive press, and it's built underneath a cellar. It's built underneath a cellar. V'gina achas al gabav, and there's a garden on top of it. So picture the roof of it. It's, as we're going to see, it's an archway. It's an archway, and on top of it is a gina. The nifchas, and now there's a hole. We're on Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Beis. The nifchas, and now there's a hole. Hari bala gina yored v'zoreya lemata. Just like we said in the previous case, there is a hole that the guy living in the aliyah can come down and live downstairs. So too over here, the balgina can come and plant in the what? In the wine press. At sheyasa the base badoy keepin, until the base badoy makes keepin. Rashi says keepin. Look, guys, you see it's two lines up. Arkvaltu. It's something that look like an arch. A keeper is an arch. You see the shirish over there, the old French word of arch. So they would make some type of arch, and then he can put his garden on top of the arch. But as long as it's nifchas, and we'll see a machloikis, Rabbi and Shmuel, the same machloikis by Dira 4 and Roiv, we'll have it here as well.
We have a
You have a Beis Habad. The Beis Habad has a some type of roof, and here's the roof, and the white is the garden. And now it breaks down, and now the garden is gone. So the garden can go down in the Beis Habad and plant. Just like the person living upstairs could go down and live over here, a parallel case, the person can go ahead, and the Gemara will make it srichasa. Why you have to tell me this case? Apparently, it's the same as the other case. Okay, next case. So now we get back to Baba Kama, guys. This is Baba Kama. You have a kaisel, a wall, and a tree that fall into Rishus Harabim, either a kaisel or a tree that fall into Rishus Harabim. They have ziko and they do damage. Pater milishalem, you would be pater from paying, right? Why? Because it's an inus. What we say adam mud la'olam on adam hamasik, but mimono hamasik, when his nechasim do damage, it's an inus and you're pater. Nasla isman lakot es elon. They give them time. Bezdin gives them time to cut down the tree. In other words, obviously you see that it's leaning over and it's a danger. So they give them time to go ahead and correct it. And within that time period that they had, it falls into the Rishus Harabim. Pata, you'd be pata. However, lachas man chayev. After this man, you would be what? You would be chayev. Misha hayakos, like third case, someone whose wall, samich laginas chavei, right? Someone whose wall was next to the garden of his friend, the nafal, and it falls into the garden. But amaloi panei nayach, go ahead and clean up your stones. Go ahead and clean up your stones. Avanecha, go ahead and clean up your stones. But amalei balakaisa, the balakaisa says to the balagina, he says to the balagina, guess what? Higiyucha, they're yours. You can keep it. They're yours. I'm being mafka them to you, right? I'm giving you a matana. The bottom line is they're yours. Ain't shayim loy. We don't listen to the balakaisel, right? Because a person can only be zeicha from hefker or a matana only if he wants to. And when it's a schus for him, and these avonim are not what they're still to the balakaisel, so therefore he's not zeicha. No, Gemara has a problem. Why don't we say that his chatzar acquires it? Why don't we say his chatzar requires it? It's falling into his chatzar. Isn't he kaina? I don't want it to be kaina. I don't want it. So therefore, we say ein shayim. We don't listen to what to the bal hakaisel. Rashi says, "Im ein zer roitza." If the balagina doesn't want, welcome back. Ein kaina loy devar hefgar. Right. The same spam every night. Ein loy right. Ein kaina loy devar hefgar. Right matana. Right, so the dvar hefka or matana, you're not kaina. You're not kaina. However, mishakibla love, once the balagina says, okay, right, I'll accept this, I'll accept the stones, Amar loy, and he cleans up the stones, guys. Heilich es yitziosecha, the Bala Kaisel says, here's the money for your expenditures. Vani etel shali, and let me take my stones. Ain't shaymin. We're not going to go away and listen to him, right? we're not going to listen to him. Okay, even though what he said, I'll pay you. I'll pay you for your siesta. We don't ask him. That's it. We'll see in Gemara why. Okay. A next case, a parallel case, similar. Someone rents a worker to go ahead and work with him in straw and or tevin and kash. We saw that taisus, right? Tevin is the when you cut it, and kash is what remains afterwards. That's attached to the ground. The amaloi tainli schari, and he says, "Give me my schar." The amaloi tul masha sisa bischarecha. Whatever you did, it's yours. In other words, I owe you $100 for the day. Take $100 worth of tevin. Take $100 worth. Right? Ain't shaymin loy. We don't listen to him. We don't listen to him. Says Rashi. Here's the chiddush. Ain't shaymin loy. Af al gav the bechol duchte. Even though in every place, islay shava kesef kekesef. We hold something that has value is equal to kesef itself. Hacha gabi poil bal solin schar. By the poil it says, do not go ahead and leave overnight his schar. Asni bahade mashmat. It's mashma what you were masking with him. What are you his scharoi? And you promised to give him cash. So you can't give him what? An equivalent of cash. We saw in Baba Kama, Meitav, the Rabbi Shava Kesef, Vafilu Subin. It doesn't make a difference, right? Over here, it does make a difference. Because it says, Scharoi, it's mashma what? By the worker, that you can't go ahead and get away giving him Shava Kesef. That's the Chiddush. That is a Chiddush. That is a Chiddush. Now, what happens is, Mishakibo Olav, he says, okay, I'll accept the Tevin, I'll accept the Kash. The Amaloi, and now after he accepts it, says the owner, the owner of the Kash and the Tevin, here's your wages, and I'll take my schar. So similar to the case before, here's the money for your expenditures, and I'll take my stones. Here's the money for your expenditures that I owe you, and I'll take my Tevin and Kash. Ein Shomlo, we will not listen to him. Ein Shomlo, we won't listen to him. Okay, so the first case of the Mishnah was the Beis Habad that broke, and therefore the garden was unable to plant, right? And now, what's that halacha? He can go down and plant in the Beis Habad. This is similar to yesterday's Gemara, where it fell in the Balaliyah, the duplex, the Aliyah fell in, and the Balaliyah now can go ahead, after Nivchas, the Tikra, he can go and live with what? With the guy below. We had Achlokes, whether he has to leave or not. Okay, says the Gemara, Nivchasa, what is the share of Nifkasa? So the same share we had by the Aliyah, we have over here. The same Machlokes. Rav Oma Baruba, you need roiv of the roof. Ushmulama Ba'arba, 4 tfachim, Makam Chashav, that would do the job. 4 tfachim. Rav Oma Baruba, Avo Ba'arba, Adam Zareya, Chetziv Lamata, V'Chetziv Lamayla. In other words, if it's only 4 tfachim, so those 4 tfachim that you have above, you go ahead and you plant below. Just like we said, whatever Hishtamshus, the Balaliyah could have used it as 4 tfachim, he does below. Because what did Rav hold? A person can live in one place and live in another place. Like he can live in 2 places. That was Rav Shita. And Al Ba'arba, Adam Zareya Chetziv Lamata, V'Chetziv Lamayla. Same Shita that he said regarding the house, the duplex. Ushmul Amar, Ba'arba in, Ein Adam Zareya Chetziv. Shmuel says 4, a person's not going to go ahead and plant Chetziv Lamata, V'Chetziv Lamayla, and therefore you need Roiv. Therefore you need a person. We don't expect the person to live in 2 places. We don't expect the person to plant in 2 places. The same svara. Now, Fred the Gemara Kasha. So why do you have to tell me apparently the same halacha in 2 separate venues? You're telling me by the duplex, and you're telling me what by the, and now you're telling me by the garden in the Beis Habad. Bitzricha. Diashminan dira. If you're going to tell me the first case that we mentioned earlier, B'hakam Shmuel. There Shmuel says you need roiv. Arba would do the job. Mishum avidi inish did diary porta hacha will put the hacha. It's not the derech of a person to live a little bit there and a little bit there. So therefore, once you have a chas of a makam chashav like arba tefachim, it's considered a breach, and that's it. You don't expect a person to live in 2 places. Now that's regarding living. Aval the Indian Sriya regarding planting. Maybe avidi inish desire hachi porta v'hacha porta. Maybe a person will plant in one place and the other. Kamash malon. So ema moidele l'rav. I might say it's moided to Rav that you need Rav. It's Kamash Malon that Shmuel says just like a person doesn't live in 2 places, a person doesn't plant in 2 places. Via itmar bahach, and if you tell me over here by planting bahach kama Rav, here Rav says a roof because a person can plant in both places. Avo baha regarding living, ema moidele the Shmuel that what you don't live in 2 places. So tzricha to tell me that a person does live in 2 places. So each one has a chiddush. Nasnu Zman. We said that they give him a Zman, and if the wall falls in that Zman, you pater. After the Zman, you be chayiv. Now, become a Zman Bezdin. What is the Zman of Bezdin? So obviously, we find out that Nasnu means Bezdin. Rabbi Yochanan Shloishim Yom, 30 days. He has 30 days to remove his obstacle. If it falls down within those 30 days, what it is a neinus, can still, after 30 days, he will be chayiv. Now, we said, excuse me. So the next case, Misha Hoyas Kaislai Samach Laginas Chaveroi, the Nafel Laginas Chaveroi, the Amalei Balagina, the Balakaisel Shiifna Avanov. He tells him to clean up his stones, and the Balakaisel says, Higiach, it's yours. Ain't Shaimanlay. Good, ain't Shaimanlay. Now, what's the next case? Guys, what's the next case? He goes ahead and he says, and after he cleans it up, after he was makabel and cleans it up and he wants it, he can't get it. Good, that's the next case. Says the Gemara, Alt Cup. Hamidu Tani Seifa, the latter case, Helich Yitzir Secha, take your expenditures. Mechlal. Now, what's the expenditures? What did he expend on, guys? Getting someone to clean it up. He had a cleanup crew. Mechlal de paninu askinan. It must be the Mishnah is speaking where it was cleaned up. Taima, the reason why in the latter case he can keep it, the balagina, the paninu, because he cleaned it up. Loy paninu, but if he didn't clean it up, loy. Now the question is, he was makabel the stones. So my fence fell into Benji's. I tell Benji, you want the stones? You can keep them. Benji says, okay. Benji doesn't clean it up, and I retract. Mashma that it would be mine. The whole reason we said that I can't retract because Benji already paid off the cleaning crew. Mashma, if it wasn't cleaned up yet, then I can't retract. Now, 1 second. Isn't it in Benji's chutzner? Read the Gemara. Amai, why can't I retract the tignale sadeu? It should be what? Benji's field, the Gina, should acquire the stones that fell there. The Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, Chatzeir shel adam koina loy shaloi midaitai. The chutz of a person is koina shaloi midaitai. So in other words, and in this case, it's even better, because this case, what? You have das. In this case, you mamish have das. Okay. Says the Gemara, Hani Mili, Heichtre Mechavin Lachnuyele. Guys, when is the chutz koina? When's the chutz koina shaloi midaitai? It's a divar hefker. Is this hefker? No, it's my stones. It's my wall. In order for Benji's chutz to be koina, even midaitai, would have to be that I'm agreed to be makna it to him. It takes two to tango, right? The acquirer and the makna. I'm not being makna it. So why did I say be makabel it? Why did I say be makabel it? The hechad mechavin laknuyele, where I, the owner of the wall, was mechavin to go ahead to balagina, then his chutz will be koina. Aval hacha ishnamutehu to come ishtamedle. Over here, I'm just buying time. I don't want to deal with that. I'm telling him, okay, you take. I really don't want to do it. What's the raya? I don't want to do it because before you cleaned it up, I said I want it back. So you saw that I never was when I said you makabel it. I never meant it in the first place. So if I never meant it in the first place, there was never a makna for his chutzah to be koina. I was just buying a little time. The next case was now it's basically the same case as what as the garden. As the stones and the tree. What do I say? The stones in the garden, right? If I told the poyo, take this in lieu, he doesn't have to listen. And once he agrees to take it, then I can't retract. But tzricha, you got to tell me two cases. Why are you telling me the same case? A case of stone garden, and then you're telling me a case of straw and a worker. If you tell me the case of the stone in the garden, when I say to Benji, keep the stones, ain't shaimin loy, you don't have to listen. In other words, I don't have anything by Benji. In other words, he doesn't want the matana, right? He does, and it's damaging to his crops. So why should you want it? In other words, my falls in. I don't have any business relationship with Benji whatsoever. I say, Benji, keep it. Ain't shining light. I'll tell you why ain't shining light. He doesn't want it. He's got a garden to plant. He doesn't need stones in his garden. Aval hacha, but a case where the islay igra gabe, that if it was a worker in a relationship, he worked the tevin in the cash. A mashaymim loy. I would say, you listen, you know why? Guys, because the bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Or as they say that's in the vernacular. As they say in ancient Aramaic, the Amri Inshi, people say, Mimari Rashvasech, from the Mari, the master that owes you, Pari Efra, you should collect even Subin. In other words, this guy is giving you to collect. This guy's giving you to collect, take the money. We had a guy in Shia for a while, a very funny story. Joe. Remember Joe?
Joe.
Remember he lived on my block? Yes, right? You know Joe. You don't know Joe? Yuri?
Oh, Joe.
Yuri, but he was Joe. So Yuri had a business of compressors. And son, there was a bill of $3,000, and someone gave him $3,000 of food stamps. I said, "You took it?" He goes, "Listen, I just told my wife I'm going to take it, but you're going to spend it." He goes, "This is a classic case of you're going to get something, you get something." Remember? What? Not anymore. Not now. They got the card. Now they have a card. I'm saying, but those days was the stamps. It was the stamp. Yeah. No, he really did have it. I think it was more than 3,000. I think it was a lot of money. Anyway, so it's a case of what? So I would say the following: if Benji's working for me and Tevin Vakash, and I say pay it, so I would say Benji said grab it. So I'd say that what? I would say Shaimim Loi. Kamash Malon ain't Shaimim Loi. Kamash Malon that since I contracted for cash, he gets cash. Hacha Shemika. Now, V'yashmin Hacha. If you tell me the case by what? By the Tevin Vakash. Hacha Shemikabo loving Shaimim Loi. Here's the reason: if he's Makabo to take the Tevin Vakash, we don't listen. Shem the Islay Igra Gabe. In other words, therefore Benji's kaina. In other words, guys, I owe Benji money. He worked for me. So what does I say? I said, Benji, take the Tevin Vakash instead of cash. And what does he say? Okay. So, I can't go back. I can't go back? Because since I owed him, he's kind of it. That's the exact opposite of the case of by stones. You don't have it. It's a nice svara. Aval hacha. But the case of what? By the stones. The lesla yugabe, ema shoymim loy. I would say that what? I would say you listen to him. Say kamash malon, and the chatzah would be kaina. Kamash malon, that's richa. You need both cases. Ain't shoymim loy. The pearl takes the Kevin as a wage, ain't Shaim Lo, you don't listen to him. But Tanya Shaim Lo, guys, let's get it straight. It's going to take us to the end of the Mishnah. So again, Benji's working for me. I offer to give him wages. Benji's makabel, the Tevin and Kasha's wages, ain't Shaim Lo. And I want it back, we don't listen. Fred Gemara Vatanya Shaim Lo. We learned in a brisa you do listen. So you have a stira, our Mishnah and a brisa. Rav Nachman loy kasha, kan bisheloi, kan bishel chaveiroi. If Benji's working in my field for me, then I'm chayim to give him money. But if he's working in his friend's field for somebody else, in other words, I hired him out for somebody else. In that case, if I hired him out for somebody else, then what? Then the malach is on my friend. Then shayim loy, because the payment is what is on my friend and not me. Amalei Rabbo Rav Nachman Bishaloi my time. What's the reason Bishaloi when he works for me that I can't go ahead and retract my time in Damalei Igro Alecha, right? To pay me is upon you, and since I paid him Tevin Vakash, that's it. Bishal Chaveri Nami Schar Chayilov. If I hire Benji to work in somebody else's field, it's still the sky's upon me. He's working for me. He's not working for a particular field. So this teretz to make a chilik between shaloi and chavero, he's not going to hold water. Titania, hasoicher es apoyelasis b'shaloi. You hire one to work for yourself. And then you go ahead and show him the friend's field, and he works in the friend's field. You have to pay that worker. Now the other guy gained. The choice of night will I say whatever hana the other guy got, the other guy got, then I'll deal with him. But vis-a-vis the worker, it doesn't make a difference. So this can't be the chilik between our Mishnah that ain't shoymim loy and the Brisa says shoymim loy. Again, the Mishnah, if he gave him tevim v'kash, you don't listen because it's already you paid him up. We have a Brisa that says shoymim loy, and you can't tell me our Mishnah is speaking b'shaloi when he worked for him, and the Brisa is speaking we work for chaveroi. Because even when he showed him chaveroi, nonetheless, what it's still be chayv to pay the same thing. Ella Amar of Nachman, guys, this loy kasha kan b'shaloi. When do you pay him cash? And no, excuse me. When can't you retract? That's when he worked for him. Kan b'shal hefker. And if I had the poil working in a field of hefker, then shoymim loy. Says Rashi, b'shal hefker shoymim loy. The amalei koni be'at. You acquire it. And because I'm not acquiring it. Hamagmi mitzir lechaveroi, says Rav Nachman, loy koine chaveroi. So this is a field of hefker, and since you're working in a field of hefker, and the field remains. If you pick it up, right? If you pick it up for yourself, for me, it remains hefker. Since what? You're picking it up at the loss for you. Excuse me. The poil is working in the field of hefker. The tevin remains hefker, as the maskir can't acquire it through the worker. Since Rav Nachman holds if you're picking it up for me, I don't acquire it. Says continues Rashi, fellas. Continues Rashi. The Rav Nachman tamei dama le'el hamagim mitzir lechaveroi loy koine chaveroi. So guys, I hire Benji to work in the field of hefker. Benji picks it up for me. Doesn't work. Rav Nachman says, so Menela, if I would go ahead and tell Benji to keep it, I would tell Benji to return it. Shaimim loy, you listen to him return it because he wasn't kind it. He wasn't kind it. Continues Rashi. Nimsa shein pulasay alav, the ain't kan balt salin, v'loy demeshal chaveroi. I can't say you is like in it because it's not mine. It's hefker. It's not mine to give. But here not. So in other words, we want to say the case of shoymim loy, we listen, is where Benji acquires it. Benji acquires it, and then he returns it. He doesn't. Excuse me. He's not acquiring it. So there's a field. He's not acquiring it. Since he's not acquiring it, I can get it back. I can get it back. Eser Rav Nachman, Metzias Poyal Atzmai, the Metzia of the Poyal is he gets it himself. Amosai, Bisman Shamalai Balabayas, when is that? When does he keep it? Bisman the Balabayas says, Nochash Imi Hayoim, Ayadu Imi Hayoim. He gives him a specific task, either weed or hoe this day. But he says a general term, not a specific chore like hoeing or weeding. And he says, work for me this day. The Metzia belongs to the Balabayas. So what did I tell Benji to do? I told Benji, go to the field of Hefker and gather Tevin Vakash. So what do you mean I'm not Kaina? What do you mean I'm not Kaina? Guys, Shoymim Loy means the following, that we're going to listen to me. Why you listen to me? Because he can return it. It's his. It's not mine. It's his. So Mamela, Fred the Gemara, it's not true. If I paid him to work, it's mine. Yad Poyol is Kiyab Alabayis in this case. So this teretz you just gave that Shaimim Loy doesn't work. This teretz that you say Shaimim Loy, right, doesn't work. Ela Amrav Nachman, Loy Kasha, Kan Bahagba, Kan Bahabata. It's speaking both fields of Hefker. Guys, both fields of Hefker. Our Mishnah is speaking by Hefker, and the Bryce is speaking by Hefker. Why in our Mishnah can I retract? Is because the Hoyle was koina, he picked it up. Since he picked it up, and Rav Nachman says, it belongs to Benji. And therefore I can't say what? Give it back to me. It belongs to him. On the other hand, the Bryce that says, I could ask, there was no kinyan made. Why was no kinyan? It's speaking about habata behefka. Habata means the easiest way to look, mabit. He's a shomer. I hired Benji to watch the Tevin Vakash of Hefker. I was watching it. I will see. Okay, so if he's watching it, he doesn't make a kinyan. So therefore, I can say, you know what? Give it back to me, and I'll give you money. Why? Because it's mine as much as yours. By the first case in our Mishnah, where it belonged to Benji. Why does it belong to Benji? Because he picked it up. I can't tell him to return it to me in lieu of money. Mashain came by, if it's both of Hefker. On the other hand, where there was no kinyan, right? Then I could tell him return it to me because it's not his. I just want it. I want it. Instead, I'm going to give him money. I'm just going to give him money. Amar Rabba, habata behefka tanahi. This teretz of Nachman is totally whether machloikas tanoim of habata behefka. Now, guys, how do you bring in the 8th year? How do you bring the oimer? In the 8th year, how do you bring the shtei lechem? If you're not allowed to plant in the 7th year, where do you get barley from, and where do you get wheat from? What? Again, but you're not allowed to plant. So this is called svichim. What is svichim? It grows by itself. Now, there's always like a little remnants left around. So it behooves us to make sure that the aniyim don't take this and the animals don't eat it. So you'd have a shomer watching it. Okay, so now, Ditnan. We want to say that habata behefka is a machlokes tanoim. Ditnan. Shomer svichi shvius. The people watching the svicha, the stuff that grows that wasn't planted, noilin scharim mitrumas alishka. They get paid from. We had this in Shkolim. They get paid from the Beis Hamikdash. They get paid from what they collect, the money that was collected during the year. They would go ahead and from there. The Yosi Omer Haroitza Misnadev a person who wants to be a shomer can make in the dove of being a shomer, the shomer chinam, and he's a shomer chinam. Okay, so the Chacham say you pay someone to watch it. Rabbi Yossi says the person doesn't have to be paid; he can do it on his own and he can watch it. Now, remind you, this is Hefker, guys. This is Svichi Shvius is Hefker. Amru Loi, the Lashon's important. Amru Loi said the Chacham to Rabbi Yossi. Amru Loi, Ata Oimer Kain. Ata Oimer Kain. If you say so, Ein Boyin Mishal Tzibur. It's not going to be coming from the tzibur. It's not going to be coming from the tzibur, meaning, if bishlema, you pay the guy. So what happens, guys? He's kaina, and therefore you pay him, right? But if you're telling me, according to you, Rabbi Yossi, that it's hefker, and you're watching it, and you're not getting paid, so it must be your koina, and therefore it's owned by you, not the tzibur. So you see habata, watching it, is koina, according to the Chachamim. My laba kamifli. The Tanakam is savar, habata behefka koina. The habata behefka is koina. And the shomer is koina, the sfiach. And therefore, what does the tzibur do? We pay him money. By paying the money, now it belongs to the tzibur. And they told Rabbi Yossi, we hold habata's koina. And what are you doing? And what does Rabbi Yossi hold? Habata is not koina. Therefore, what? It still belongs. It's hefker. The iyavle igra in. If you pay him, then yes, it belongs to the tzibur. The loy. And if you don't pay him, then not. Rabbi Yossi says that what he can be misnadev his services and his shemachinam. Sava habata vehefka loy kana. The chi ozli tzibur umaisi, and the tzibur brings the shtei lechem and or the oimer. Hashtahu the kozachabe. There's zeicha mamish at that time from hefka. And what's the lashon uma ata oimer? Since Rabbi Yossi holds you're not koina. In other words, guys, they said to Rabbi Yossi, and you, Rabbi Yossi, it's not coming from the tzibur. But Rabbi Yossi says it's not koina. What? If he holds it's not koina, of course it's coming from the tzibur. So what do they mean? Uma ata oimer. Hachi can relate. Midvarecha lidvareinu. From your words to our words, the distinction ain't oimer v'shelechem b'yim mishal tzibur. If he's not paid, the shomer will acquire the growth for himself. If he's not paid, from our words, based upon our words, from your words that you say you don't pay him, our words say, according to us, it'll not be coming from Hefker. It'll be coming from, okay, so the Gemara is assuming right now it's a machlokes vad tanoim. Okay, so guys, let's go through this. I'm going to leave the paper trail. We got into the sugya from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said that if the worker works with Tevin Vakash, and he's makabel it, and you want it back, ain't shoymim lo. He keeps it. We have a brisa that says you get it back. You get it back. We have a problem. How do you go ahead and answer the steerist? We had 2 attempts. The final attempt was they're both hefker. I'm just speaking where it's a field where Benji's working in hefker in both cases. The question is, did he make a kinyan or not? I'm Mr. speaking where he made a hagbah, he picked it up. Since he picked it up, it belongs to Benji. And Mamela, he doesn't have to give it back to you. Ain't Shemim loy if you want it back. It's his. This Bryce said it says Shemim loy, it doesn't belong to him. Why does it belong to him? Because I only hired Benji to work it, to look at it. Since he was looking at it, he's not kind of it. And therefore, since he's not kind of it, I can request it back. Now the Gemara is suggesting, in fact, this teretz of Nachman is in fact the machloikis what? Tanoim. Loite chachamim habata is kaina. Like Rabbi Yossi Abata is not kaina. So therefore, Rav Nachman is getting into a machlokes tanoim. Rav Nachman is holding like the chachamim, and not like Rabbi Yossi. Now, an Amoira always wants to come out according to both tanoim. So therefore, Rava goes ahead and saves Rav Nachman. Amarava loy the kuliyalma Abata behefka kaina. Everyone holds Abata behefka is kaina, and therefore, so if it's kaina, what's the svara of Yossi that what you don't have to pay him? Maybe what he won't give it with a full heart. Kamifki. Rabbanan Savri, Yavin Igra, you pay him up. In other words, how generous is the individual? Says the Chachamim, it belongs to the individual. So when he's going to give it over, guess what? We'll give him incentivize him. We'll incentivize him by what? By paying him. And Rabbi Yossi says, you don't got to incentivize him. What does Rabbi Yossi hold? Good, he belongs to him. But when he gives it, he's going to give, as Kenny would say, in ganzen hearts. He's going to give out with his full heart, right? Totally. So therefore, says the Gemara. But you like You're not chayish that he won't give it over with his totally with his heart, and therefore you don't have to pay him. What's the lashon of mato? Hachi. If you say so, that you say that he's going to be shem achinam. What does that to do with giving it over? According to us who are worried about it, then because we're worried that he didn't give it over totally. Okay, so according to this, Rav Nachman is not a machlokes tanoim. Ikadi Amri, Rav Amad the Kuliyama Habata behefka loy kana. Habata behefka is not kana. So what's the machlokes between? So who's problematic now? If it's not kaina, the chachamim, what are you paying for? What are you paying for, guys? Right? What do you have to pay? If you're not kaina, so it belongs back to the tzibur. It belongs to hefker. It doesn't belong to anybody. So what are you paying for? Ikadi Amri, Rava Amad Kuliyalma Habata behefka loikana. So we have to answer up. That's the reason of the Tanakama. V'hachu b'chashinon lebale Israelis. We're chayish for what? For mafiosos, Jewish mafiosos, that they're going to come and take it for themselves. Again, I guess you're not going to have too many crops afterwards, and they're going to go take it for themselves. And that's the machlokes in Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. Tanakam is Sava, the Takin Rabbanon, Lamesav Le to pay the Shomer, Arba Zuze to pay him for Zuz, right? Of Kihecha to Lishmei, that any Bal Yisrael should hear that it was purchased by Hefker. In other words, if the money came from Hefker, they got this is Hefker money. It's going to be Chalad and Hefker in these things, and they're not going to take it. So we want to publicize to be a deterrent that any person who would think of taking it's not going to take it. That's why you pay. Really, BMS, it belongs to anyone who picks it up. And we're worried this guy, the mafioso guys, are going to come along and pick it up. But the Jewish mafioso guys, Hegdish paid for it, we're going to stay away. That's what. That is the Chachamim. Rabbi Yossi said, like Takinu, they didn't make a takana to pay, and they're not chayish for Bali Yisrael. They're not chayish for this. On the base, what's the lashon that the Chacham said to Rabbi Yossi? Mato oima hachi kamalei midvarech levrayinu ein boyim mishal tzibur. It's not going to come to the tzibur because we're worried about Bali Yisrael. V'chein kiyasa ravin am Rabbi Yochanan choishin lebali Yisrael ikabinayu. That's the difference between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi. Whether you chayish for what for Bali Yisrael, so we ended up with a teretz. We ended up with a teretz havata behefker. We want to say havata behefker is machlokes tanoim. We said we had other ways explaining the machlokes between the Mishnah in Shkalim, Shomer Svicha, and according to Chacham you pay and you don't pay. We had a few terutzim. One you pay because what? Because you're buying it from your kaina. Second teretz is you're not paying. You're not paying because you buy it for your koine. You're paying why? Because you're worried that he's not going to give it over well, or what? He's worried he's not going to give it over well, or you're worried that you're worried about they're going to strong arm guys, right? They're worried about they won't give it over well, or you're worried what's the other one? Yeah, and you're worried about what? You're chayiv shabal yisrael. You're chayiv to these strong arm guys, mafios guys. Says the Mishnah. Okay, this is Baba Kama. Hamaitzi zebel rishus harabim. Someone goes ahead and he takes his fertilizer and he puts it in rishus harabim. Why would he do it? Because again, if people trample upon it, it's going to make it a little better. And he doesn't have rishus. He doesn't have rishus to keep it there. So hamaitzi might say the person puts it out. Mizavel, and the fertilizer guy should go take it right away. You don't keep it in rishus harabim. Don't keep it there. You can't keep it there. So the person puts it out. He puts it out, and if it does damage, you're going to be chayiv. Ain't shoyin tit b'shus harabim. You can't go ahead and soak clay in b'shus harabim to make bricks. You can't do that. It takes a long time, and therefore it's going to be makalkal b'shus harabim. Bein loivlim levenim. You can't go ahead and loivlim levenim. Look at Rashi. Bein loivlim levenim. If you shemasha oisan liyavshon, you would leave the clay there to dry out. Sheshoyte chatit bikarka chalaka. They would spread the clay. It's like wet quicksand. They'd spread it on smooth surface. The thickness of levanim. And they would cut horizontal and vertical. So in other words, picture like you have a dough of clay, and they would cut ways, and they leave it there till they dry. So anytime you're leaving stuff in your Rishus Harabim, it's a problem in Rishus Harabim. Aval goivlin tit Rishus Harabim. You could store tit in Rishus Harabim because you're not going to keep it there a long time, and you're making cement, and you're going to get you guys with the bandages around their head about the Sikhs, and they're going to go ahead, they run around, and boom, they're going to put it. He's out. But clay's used for bricks that you can't do. That's going to take, you can't store your bricks there, right? That's going to take time. Maybe you bring, don't keep it there. You bring it and then you put it right immediately. You put it in the building. Then hizik, in all these cases, if it does damage, you're going to pay for the damages. He even goes ahead what from the Rishus Harabim, he's not chayiv in the zikim for 30 days. Yes, from the Zman of Rishus Harabim, he's metakin, and if he's metakin this melacha, he has 30 days.
He can leave the stuff there for 30 days?
Well, again, he's not going to be chayiv. We're going to see. Let's say the Mishnah is like Rabbi Yehuda. Now Mishnah says if you mess up Rishus Harabim, you chayiv, guys, right? If you mess up Rishus Harabim, you chayiv. Like Rabbi Yehuda, Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. B'shas haitzos volim, in the season where you're permitted, in the winter, where you're permitted to put out this volim, the zevel, under mitzvah zevel Rishus Harabim, it's soibroi, and you can gather it, kol shleishim yom, all 30 days, kedei she'nishuf b'ragli adam b'ragli behema, in order to be trampled upon with the feet of people, and the feet, shalman askein, hinchli Yisrael, Yeshua Yisrael es aretz. That was one of the conditions made in Baba Kama. So l'chayra, Rabbi Yehuda says you could do this, and the Havamina is, and it's going to be the maskana that you potter, right? I feel it in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda shim hizik chayiv v'shalim. In other words, according Mishnah says if you do it, you chayiv. We assume Rabbi Yehuda says that there was a takana made you could do it, and you potter. No, it's the takana made you could do it, but you're going to pay the price. You could park in that zone, but are you going to get if you park in that zone, Mendy? Commercial vehicle overnight? You're going to get the ticket? You're going to get it. What?
You got it. It's been a while.
You ever get a ticket for parking a commercial vehicle overnight, Mendy?
Hello,
Yeah, but for driving on parkways.
No, never did it.
Okay. Anyway, but Tanan, Moed Rabbi Yehuda, B'ner Chanukah Shu Pater, Teish Oiseh B'Shus, My Lav B'Shus Bezdin. So if he has Rishus Bezdin to go ahead and do it, now the assumption is that Rabbi Yehuda's Moed, if you leave the candle out, fellas, remember this in Baba Kama, you got the camel with the straw, and you got the Ner Chanukah, we said you pata. So the assumption is Ner Chanukah you pata is because you have Rishus Bezdin. So too over here, if Bezdin gives you Rishus to put your zevel into Rishus Harabim, you should be pata. Says Rishus the mitzvah, loy. Rishus the mitzvah. Ner Chanukah is not Rishus of Bezdin, it's Rishus mitzvah that it should be outside. But Tanya, Kol Elu Shomru, Mutarim L'Kalkol Rishus Rabim, all the cases, Poising Baby was saying, and V'gofim was saying, these old Gemaras in Baba Kama, that we say that you're permitted to be Mekalkol Rishus Rabim, and Hizik Chayiv L'Shalim, Rabbi Yehuda Poiter, Rabbi Yehuda says you Potter. So l'chayiv they had rishus yipater. El mechavarta, it's clear masnisan like Rabbi Yehuda. Amish is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Amish says if you mekalkol rishus rabim yachayiv, Rabbi Yehuda says you mekalkol rishus rabim yipater. Rabaya, Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Rav Shimon Kulasrilahu, they all hold kamakim shenasnu lechacham and rishus v'hizik pater. Right? Each one at what when the chacham gave rishus to go ahead and do something, you pater. Rabbi Yehuda Adam Maron. Rabbi Yehuda, we just said. If you put your zevel, you have a shus to put your zevel in shus rabim. If you get damaged, it's a barber shus rabim, you'll be potter. Before 30 days, he's building a shus rabim. He can get away with it. Reb Shimon, okay, guys, you have a duplex. You're putting this is Baba Basra, right? You have a duplex. An oven. You have an oven in the below. It has to be 4 tefachim from, I think, the top. It has to be Dalet Amis, excuse me. No, you need Dalet Amis from the top of your stove to the roof. What about the roof above? Not the roof, the apartment above. You have the heat from below. How much the thickness of the wall in order to be marchik the nizik? How much do you need? That's the discussion. If your person's taking a tanner and he's setting it up in the attic, he has to have underneath the oven a thickness of cement, which does not give so much heat, tefach. And if it does damage, you have to pay. We didn't say all these shiurim of 3 tefachim or 1 tefach. So again, 3 people. Rabbi Yehuda, the Zevel, Rishus Rabim, Shimon Gamliel of our Mishnah. You can also Rishus with Rabim if you're building something for 30 days, and Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai by Baba Basra that you'll be potter as long as you go ahead and put the proper amount of cement underneath the oven or the kira, you'll be potter for damages below. Okay, now we're speaking now about the process of building, and we want to know who's chayav. Okay. We're speaking about the process of building, and we want to know who's chayiv. So we're starting off with the miner, the guy who's working the quarry, and that's called the chatzav. The chatzav is the guy who cuts the stone out of the mountain. Shemasa l'satos, he gives the stone over to the chisla. Hasatas chayiv. If it does damage, the satis is chayiv. Why? Because he had the stone in his hand. Satis shemasa l'chamar. The satis who gave it to be transported, he gave it to the donkey driver, and it does damage. Hachamar chayiv. Then the donkey driver's chayiv. No, it's in his hands. The masak. Hachamar shemasa esa evan l'katev. Hachamar that gives over the evan to what? To the shlepper to schlep it into the building. Hakatev chayiv. He's chayiv to pay. Hakatev shemasa lebenai. He gave it to the bricklayer. Habenai chayiv. Right? Habenai shemasa ladrichel. Now that drichel guy, as Rashi says, he's the guy with the plumb line. He's the guy who makes sure that the cement is perfectly lined up. So it seems the brick guy just put the brick there, and this guy with the what's that called? The level.
The trowel.
Trowel, right? The trowel, not the spriggle. The trowel, right? Don't send me anything in this year. The trowel. Because now, so again, Habenai shemasol atrichal. That atrichal again is the guy who levels off everything. Atrichal chayev. The im. Now, if this is fascinating, if that atrichal puts it down and then the evan falls, ala dimus, that right, and if he puts it on the dimus on the binding, he puts it in its place, and then it falls, does damage. Kula chayav l'shalem, right? They all chayav to pay. You're all chayiv to pay. Yeah, mamash from the beginning. Iva Tanya Achron chayiv v'kulam peturin. We said only the last one that richos chayiv and all pata. Like Hasha, kan b'schiris, kan b'kablanis. If it's schiris, then they're all chayiv. If it's kablan, excuse me. If it's schiris, only the last guy's chayiv. If it's kablonis, one job, then they're all responsible. Rashi says, "Beschiris ha'achman chayiv, the kablonos kulon chayavim heichid lo naflam miyad echad mehem." If it didn't fall from the hands of one of them, but it fell after the job is completed, they're all chayiv in the job, right? The ad kulon lishmar, they all have to watch it. Shetei misheves yafa. Here, guys, they all have to watch that it should be misheves vat in its proper place. Again, you're getting paid. You're getting paid. You're a chayiv for the action until it's finished.